Hey, my friends, welcome back. Another episode of the Dental Marketing Secrets Podcast. So excited to share this with you. My name is Mark Thackeray, and as you know, our mission with this podcast is to bring you what's working right now in the world of dental marketing, things that you can do to grow your practice, to serve more patients, and ultimately leave a greater impact, because that is the name of the game, my friends. Like I said, excited to finish up our email series podcast. This is episode number 69. It's the third episode in our email series, Email Unleashed, and wanted to share just a few case studies to show you what's possible with email. I know I'm not saying this is going to happen, or I can't tell you that if you do these things, you'll get the same outcomes, because I don't know your situation. There's a lot of variables there. And I'm sure some attorney listening to this would be like, oh, yeah, you can't say that. There's no way you can say that. But I also I want to share this because I think it's important that you know what's possible. I want you to kind of open your mind to email, because a lot of people have it closed. They don't think that it's really that effective. Okay. And it's funny, I'm kind of shaking my head a little bit. I was playing an indoor soccer game earlier tonight, and I collided heads with this other guy, smack so hard on a turn, and I had to go out of the game, unfortunately. So I've got this huge goose egg on the left side of my head, and it's kind of throwing me off a little bit. A little funny, a little painful, but we're all good. All good, right? We did lose, unfortunately, but still fun to play the game. So yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. So uh, email is interesting, right? Because it's something I think a lot of practices take for granted. I've mentioned that before in these episodes, but it is a huge asset when you know how to deploy it. It's one of those things where you can tap into the relationships that you've spent time and effort and money in acquiring and building, because people, you can connect with someone, and reconnect with someone and re-energize that relationship very quickly through a well-written email and through a personalized email. Okay, and that's essentially how the backbone of how we did this with some of our clients, and I'm gonna share two case studies with you. So first was for practice, and we were focused on referrals. Referrals is something that we always want more of, right? As dentists, we want, as a practice, that is the golden goose. We want those referrals, and there's so much, but it's interesting. We understand the value of referrals, and man, if only we could get more of those. But when I ask practices, what are they doing to generate more referrals, to proactively create more referrals for their practice? It's like this is crickets. There's nothing. It's just a thing that happens, hopefully, that it happens, right? They just hope and pray that they will happen. And sometimes they do, which is great. But a lot of times they don't, because you're not doing anything to help motivate patients to refer. So I think that's where email comes in. And that's where it came in for this particular client, is that the goal was to generate more referrals. So they had, just pulling up the numbers here. So we had, so we determined what the strategy was. We're going to use email primarily to drive these referrals. And part of this is just because, and this, when you see patients, but you typically only see them once or twice a year. Some patients a little bit more, they might be going through a certain type of treatment. But for the most part, you're only seeing them once or twice a year. And that's not enough. That's not often enough to really stimulate referrals. In order to do that, you need to be in communication with them monthly, at least monthly, right? So that you're top of mind when the need arises, your practice comes to mind. Okay, that's so important, because we can't control when they're going to meet someone who needs a dentist, who needs help, who has a dental emergency, who is looking to improve their smile, or just has had a bad experience and needs to find someone new. We have no control over that. No matter how hard we try, we can't force someone to raise their hand and say, yeah, I'm interested. I need your help. So that's why being in front of patients who already know, like, and trust you, who have already bridged that gap of uncertainty coming to your practice and having firsthand experience of how great you are and how much better a dental provider, a dental experience can be, they're on the front lines. They can be the ones to find those people that are ready, right? So that's really formed the basis of this referral campaign for our client. So we said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to lay out we're going to create a calendar, a content calendar, basically, of here's what we're going to talk about, this month. We're recording this right now in October. So if we were doing this now, it'd be, what are we going to do this month, October, November, December, plan out the next 6 months, eventually get carried over through the entire year, but identifying exactly what the core offers, what the messaging would be for each of those months. Okay. And obviously you're going to take into account the seasons. Are there certain times of year that make more sense than others? In this case, we had the Use It or Lose It campaign towards the end of the year. We mentioned that multiple times from September, even starting as early as September through the end of the year, through December. So that was built into it. But then we also decided, okay, we're going to do a crown promotion this month. We're going to focus on dental implants this month. We're going to focus just on hygiene. Let's get more people in for their cleanings this month. And just really created that calendar, just built that out so that we had that plan, so that when the time came to write the email, we weren't staring at a blank screen, scratching our head, wondering what the heck we're going to write this time. Okay, that's important. Having a plan is so critical. And that sounds so silly, right? Having a plan. Ooh, have a plan, right? I mean, it's so basic. It's something that we take for granted, but it is incredibly powerful, because once you have a plan, then you just need to know, then it's all about, okay, I just need to do this part of that plan. This is the next step. I need to take care of that. And you can focus all your energy on that instead of this huge project that you're not sure of because you haven't taken the time to create a plan. So that was our first step, was to build out a content calendar. Okay. And again, it had the messaging, it had specific offers, and we'd try and find one of the things, and I've mentioned this in earlier episodes, but just the power of stories. When you're sharing some of these offers, for example, let's say you're doing a Use It or Lose It campaign. Great example was one that we did with a patient where they had someone call in, they were in the chair and they were talking about their benefits expiring. And this patient didn't know, just didn't understand how it worked. And it totally caught her off guard. When the hygienist was like, yeah, your benefits are going to expire in a couple of weeks. And she was like, what? They expire? You mean like they just go away? And it's just one of those, it's an everyday experience for practices, right? But for the patients, not all patients get that, right? And so that was just a huge revelation to this lady. And we ended up using that. Wrote that story into the email and just said, hey, this is what happened. I realized that some people don't understand that, and just explain that and segued into the offer to come in and schedule and utilize take advantage of those benefits that you've already paid for before the end of the year, right? So whenever you can, you want to weave in those stories and make it easier to read. Make it something you really, ultimately what you're trying to do is create an email that's magnetic, that when it comes to your inbox, people are actually excited to read it because there's personality. It's not just a straight offer. It's not just a straight, hey, who do you know that you can send as a new patient? I mean, that gets really old really fast. So whenever you can weave in some type of personal experience, story, personality, that takes it from just a generic message that oftentimes get discarded or not read all the way through in its entirety to a magnetic message, something that people actually want to read. And that's going to help your case, right? That's where they're going to read your messages, and that'll stick with them, so that when the time comes for them to pass on a referral, that's going to be so much easier. One thing too about this campaign is that, and I want to share this just because people don't always understand this. It's just, I think it's important as a practice to help your patients understand or realize or recognize that they come to you for a reason, oftentimes multiple reasons, and help them understand what makes you so different. And I know some people say, oh, our service is the best. And that is just that's just a platitude, right? Anyone can say that. And oftentimes, almost every practice does say that. And that doesn't mean a whole lot to people anymore, because they're not sure how to quantify that. They're not going to go and experience every practice and then come back and do an evaluation and say, oh yeah, this practice actually was really good. They're not going to do that. But you can help them understand that, hey, the reason why a lot of our patients come to us is because we have gotten really good at easing people's anxiety. And we do that through sedation. We do that through our experience, even giving a shot so that people don't even know that they've had a shot. There's a lot of anxiety around that. Just kind of paint that picture and help them understand that there's still people out there that haven't had a fantastic dental experience like you have. Can you help us find those people? If you know someone that's had a poor experience, that is afraid to go to the dentist, can you just pass this along? Just pass our name along. And with this particular office, one of the offers that we did with that is that we said, hey, for any family and friends that you know that are considering a new dentist or have some even, experiencing some type of pain or just need an appointment, come in. We'll do a free exam for them. No question, just for you guys, because you guys are such good patients. And we want to work with more people like you. We're willing to give them a free exam so that it's no risk. They can come try us out, make sure that it's a good fit, make sure they feel 100% comfortable with us before being obligated to pay anything. So spell out, create a unique offer for your patients to give other people. And so that's another great thing to do when you're creating a campaign like this. But let me tell you a little bit about the numbers. Okay. So these are pretty exciting. I kind of geek out on numbers. This is like the fun math, right? Oftentimes in school you go through those and it's just geometry and some of those others. I can't even remember all of them. It's been so long. But this is really the fun math, is where when you're seeing these things come in and you're recognizing just realizing that potential that you knew was there, but you've now kind of found a way to capture it. So the year before we started this practice had done a pretty good job of referrals. So they had 367 referrals the year before, which is fantastic, right? That's solid for sure. And it's a little larger practice, multiple providers, things like that, but still, that's solid. So, but the 12 months following, once we implemented this email program, and we did a few other things too. I'm not going to say it was solely email, but it primarily was email. Occasionally we would send a postcard to them, and occasionally we would do like a handwritten note, things like that, but like once or twice a year. So the heavy lifting really was done by the email campaign. And just in those 12 months, we generated 584 referrals. So 217 more referrals than they did the prior year. 217, like almost not quite double, but you're getting close to almost doubling that, which is amazing, right? And it's an email campaign. So you're not investing, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in Google ads or Facebook and Instagram ads, right? These are people that you already have. These are assets that you already have, these relationships, and you're just reaching out to them. You're taking the time to be thoughtful about your messaging, be creative, be fun, and it can work incredibly well, incredibly well. So that was very exciting. I think the total, let me see if I still have, um, oh, yeah. So the total production from the referral campaign, it was like 351,000 in year one, and it had, and obviously that just keeps going up, right? For year after year after year in terms of your ROI, because a lot of those are going to stay patients for 3-5 years at least, right? And it's just so exciting, right? Those are the fun numbers where you see, man, we got like 60% more referrals and generated 350,000 in production from people that we already had on our list, from awesome patients that we already work with. So cool. So cool. And again, that's primarily through email marketing. Email, it can work, you guys. It's funny. Like I giggle when I say that, because there's people that they just don't believe it. It's like, they think I'm like pulling a joke or something when I, when I tell them about email, because they're like, no, there's no way that can work. But it's true. It's true, you guys. It really, really does work. That's funny. But let's go on to the next one. This was a 30-day campaign. So we decided to focus on crowns, and we wanted to make it, a special offer. It was getting towards the end of the year. And so this was another good thing. If you're going to do this, maybe consider it now's a good time, or sometime in that final quarter, Q4, September, October, November, December, somewhere around there, just because especially if you're insurance based, because now you can tap into the use it or lose it, the benefits as well, those expiring benefits, to apply to this campaign, which makes it even easier for them to come in and schedule treatment. So we set this up. We created a pretty aggressive offer. It's not something we would broadcast out other times during the year. It was just once. We've never done this before, but explained why. And that's an important thing to remember when you're writing these emails and creating these messages. You want to explain, if you're giving a discount or any type of special, you want to explain the reason why. Okay? It doesn't have to be a great reason, but people need to see or understand the reason why behind something, so that they don't discount it. They don't think, hey, there's got to be a catch here. It's too good to be true. You have to address that so that they understand, here's why, and it could be, again, I think the first time we used a story for this, because we sent multiple emails. And that's actually something I didn't mention with the previous campaign. With the referral campaign, we scheduled, our goal was 2 to 3 emails a month. And I know people are like, what, 2 to 3 emails? Are you kidding me? Nobody wants to hear me that often. That was the goal. I know we got at least 1 to 2 emails a month. And you have to be consistent with that. You have to be, okay? There's no getting around that. That's a hard rule. And so with this, I didn't mention that before, so I just wanted to plug that in. But now that we're talking about this specific crown campaign, we decided, okay, so it's just for that 1 month. So we send out an email that set the table, that let them know, here's the offer, here's why we're doing this offer right now. And I believe we used a patient story I'd have to go back through my notes. I don't have those right with me, but we usually do. So it's a safe bet to say that we used a story to help illustrate the reason why we're doing this. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It's not a life or death situation or anything like that. It could be a very everyday, commonplace story, but stories sell. Stories hook people in, and they're so much easier to listen to, and they're so much easier to remember. So if you haven't been using stories, definitely consider using them. So we set the table. We let them know it's only good for this month, and be specific about your deadlines. They need to know, because deadlines move people to action. Just think back to high school, think back to college, all those times that you had an essay due, you had a project due, and thank goodness for a deadline, because you wouldn't have done any of it, right? Deadlines push you to take action. And the same thing happens with your patients. So when you're doing a promotion, make sure that you have spelled out what the deadline is. Be very clear about that. And I would do that in all your emails. You don't have to be, you can do it in different ways. You can use it, mention in the body of the email, and then maybe at the PS, be like, oh, we've only got 15 days left of this offer. So make sure that you contact our office ASAP. Or you could do something like, hey, our appointments are filling up. We only have X amount of appointments left. Make sure you call us ASAP if you are interested in order to schedule your appointment. But set the stage, explain the reason why you're doing this, articulate the deadlines, and then yeah, you send, right? You send it out, and then too, you're going to want to follow up on that again, because people always ride me for this. They always push back on this. No, if they saw the email and didn't take action, it means they're not interested. I get that all the time. And I used to believe that too. I used to believe that lie, but it is just a lie, by the way, because there's actually many people, many patients that will read your email and have full intention of calling your office, but then life gets in the way. They get pulled away from their phone or their desk, and then soon before they know it, that email is 10 deep. Maybe it's on the second page, and then it's in the black hole. It might as well not even be in their inbox, because nobody's going to page 2 or beyond. So oftentimes life will just get in the way. So that's why you send a follow-up email. And in this campaign, I think we did 3 or 4 emails, and just let them know. And you can do little updates too. You don't have to be super creative every time, but just a quick reminder, and just say, hey, did you happen to see this email? I just want to make sure. We've had some people. I just don't want you to miss out on this if you need treatment. And if you obviously can pull a list, people that are unscheduled treatment that have been diagnosed as needing a crown. You can absolutely do that, and I would encourage you doing that. But that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to follow up and make sure that they have every opportunity to schedule that appointment. And so you're going to want to plan that out, right? So if you're not sending that final email on the final day of the month, because logistically that just doesn't make sense. They're not going to be able to come in for that. So you'd want to space that out and give them at least 7 days, to plan 5 days if you're good or whatever, but just enough time so that they can call the office, schedule an appointment, come in and get treatment. So, and this one was really cool too. This one was actually ended up being their best. They broke their previous record. They had done a huge. Well, they'd done campaigns like this before. They hadn't made this particular offer, and they'd never approached it like this. But in the 30 days, it's pretty cool. In the 30 days, we broke their record almost by 3 times, and so 276% was the final total, and we did just over 200,000 just in crowns alone in 30 days, $204,820. So pretty rocking, and it's, again, this one is a larger practice. This had 5 doctors. So big practice, no question, but still 204,000 in 30 days on just crowns. That's just crowns. So pretty amazing. And again, I don't promise you this is going to happen to you if you do this, but I think you'll be surprised. I think you'll see stuff if you do it right. I think you will see patients coming in, and will there be people that unsubscribe? Yes, of course. But like I mentioned in the last episode, don't get hung up on that. They're people that aren't going to do anything anyway. Like, it doesn't mean that they don't like you, or that you're a bad person, or that you've hurt their feelings or anything like that. It does not mean that. They're just okay. They're just okay with tuning out, right? So don't get hung up on anyone that unsubscribes. Don't take it personally because it's not personal. Um, but you also don't want to miss out on this. I think that holds people back. They think, oh man, I don't want to bug my patients. They're going to think I'm such a dweeb or dweeb. I don't even know why that came. I think I was going to say wiener, but probably shouldn't on this podcast. Anyway, but you don't get caught in that trap. Okay, don't get caught in that trap because it's not worth it. You're going to miss out on these huge, huge potential gains from your patients. And it's serving them too. I think that's the bottom line too with a lot of this is that you are doing them the service. Ultimately, I think they're going to come to realize, man, I am so glad that Dr. Mark got me in for treatment. I can't even imagine going, if they have a friend or someone they know perhaps that didn't go get treated, and they're having issue after issue, and it's so freaking painful, and they just can't do anything else. They're just totally paralyzed by this pain. It sucks, and that's what you're doing for them. You're providing better health, and there's no way to quantify that. Like, seriously, health is the biggest thing that we have is our health. And when you don't have it, it's terrible, right? And I'm living proof, right? I've got this massive goose egg, and that's not even that bad, but I totally get, if you have something that's paralyzing from the pain, man, it can be terrible. Okay, let's finish up there's a few challenges that I recognize that you're going to come up against. Okay, so we've got still, even though you have, you could take exactly what I've described to you, whether you're making a referral campaign or you're just doing a specific one-off promotional campaign on a type of treatment, for example, like crowns or like implants or whatever the case may be. You're going to come up to some roadblocks because it's just how it is. And whether it's you writing the emails, whether it's one of your team members, you're not going to know what to write. You might know, okay, this is the plan. Mark said, let's do at least 2 to 3 emails a month. Do this, and this. But what do I say? Use story, but I can't think of a story or something like that. Or you're not sure how to write that. Some people get in this mode where they think they have to sound different. They have to sound like a professor, and they start writing all flowery, and and it's not who they are, and it's inconsistent, incongruent with who they are in person. Formatting, there's a lot of things. You might just be wrestling with your silly email marketing service provider, whether that's the one you use for your practice management or something else. It could just be hard to get it to look right, or it could be you're having trouble with your list. You're having usually that's not the case with most practices because practice management software is usually very good at that. But sometimes that will occur where they just can't seem to get the darn list right, or it's not specific enough. That is where that can be a big challenge too. So one of the things that we do is we help you. We can do that all for you. So if you have someone that can do that, by all means, go get them. Go for it. But if you need some help with that we would love to partner with you to create a referral campaign, to create monthly emails that go out for your practice, that are engaging, they're fun to read, they connect with your patients, they drive referrals, they drive production. It's a fantastic way to retain patients and to draw in, to generate more referrals. Or if you need maybe you're doing a promotion or something like that, we would love to be there for you and partner with you and create that for you. We have a done for you program where we'll take that over. We'll help you build out the content calendar, and we will write all the emails, send them to you for your approval, make sure that everything looks good, it sounds good, and all the details are accurate before we press send. And then we'll monitor it. We'll look at your account. We'll see, we'll keep tabs and do reports on, hey, this is what's happened. These are how many people have been clicking. This is the percentages of engaged readers and things like that, so that you don't have to, and it's a very, very affordable program. I mean, we're talking a couple $100 a month, and the returns right now have just been really, really strong. And you really don't, it's silly. You need like a couple of patients, maybe, depending on what type they're getting, you need a couple of patients every other month, and you'd be just fine as far as ROI. But a lot of people see more than that because again, you've spent all this time building those relationships. So if you can continue to nurture those on a monthly basis, consistent basis, you're going to see more fruit from your labors there. So if you are interested, I'd love to set up a call and just see if that's something that would make sense for you. We can go over a couple of different options. You can ask any questions about how it works, what it looks like, pricing, anything like that. Happy to share that with you, to discuss that with you. And then if it's a good fit, great. We'll get started and get going right away. If not, no worries. No, I'm not high pressure. Our team is not high pressure at all. We don't want to work with you. We don't want to work with people that don't want to work with us. If you have to be, like strong-armed into a sale or into a relationship, that is not the client that we want to be working with. So if this seems to, if these episodes have resonated with you, and if you have someone that you think would be good at this in your practice, dude, have them listen to these episodes and get them going. Just help them, coach them, work with them, give them the reins, and then see what they come up with. If not, I would love to help you with that. If your staff is just like, oh, that's the last thing I could do, I just don't have any bandwidth, or I don't know, they just won't do it, because that can happen too. They might just feel so overwhelmed. Then I'd love to talk to you about that. So if you're interested, feel free to email me. Go to markthackeray.com. That's markthackey.com, and you can fill out a form, contact me. Love to schedule a time to talk more. So with that, my friends, that is the conclusion, the finale of the Email Unleashed series. There are so many things that we could continue to talk about, but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of email right there. And really, I could not overstate how important it is to be doing email nowadays. So if you're not doing it, please do. And again, if you need help, then reach out to us and we can help you with that. So until next time, my friends, stay healthy, don't get goose eggs like me. Well, if you can, it's okay. It's part of life. If you do, tell me about it. I want to hear that story. And we will see you next time.